All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome back. It's day 9 of the 30-day profit challenge. Sorry, day 9, yes. And we're going to get into some e-commerce platform costs today. I appreciate you being here today. I recognize the last few days have been a bit of a quiet time for perhaps on my end of things, but also on your end of things. Hopefully you had a good, resting, long weekend away from it all. And today what we're going to get into is what we call the order margin tree. We're kind of into day 2 now of the order margin tree. I promise the recordings are coming your way very shortly today. And with those recordings, what you'll be able to understand is how we're getting into the order margin tree now. Last week, we talked a bit about the product margin tree. And so now we're kind of moving into order margin tree. And today, what we're going to talk a bit about is we're going to talk a bit about what we call e-commerce platform costs. And what the e-commerce platform costs are basically all those costs that you would have incurred for running your e-commerce platform. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start sharing my presentation and we'll go from there. So as I mentioned, the order margin tree is something new, perhaps you haven't seen yet before, but we talked a bit about it yesterday in the order margin tree introduction. But if we take our example we had previously, where we had our orders off to the left here side equation now, if you remember our product margin tree sat over on the far left, but now we're getting into the order margin tree. And without getting into it further too much today, but what we talked about yesterday is how you've got your gross sales margin in the middle, you've got your orders, as well as then you've got along the far right-hand side a whole bunch of other shipping costs or platform costs or payment processing fees, whatever those costs are that are incurred for you to go through and drive all of the different sort of parts of your business. Think of it like the back office of your business. So this is getting into a bit more of the overhead or whatnot. But there is margin in some of these particular examples where they are variable costs in some cases. Some of them are fixed costs. And so what we'll go through and throughout the next couple of days is we'll break down some of these other costs. Today, what we're going to talk about, though, is the e-commerce platform costs. Now, typically with an e-commerce platform, you have a few different pieces of the puzzle. Most of the people think of their e-commerce platform historically as just the shopping cart. And the shopping cart being your platform where you're taking the order, perhaps you're displaying your web store, or where you're basically doing all the transactions. But the e-commerce platform is continuing to evolve, and it's got more and more complexity to it nowadays. As most people know, if you're buying anything online, you have shipping and fulfillment parts of the platform as well that you have to figure out. And so with the shipping and fulfillment parts of the platform, what we're talking about there is we're talking about if you have any warehouses, or maybe perhaps you have inventory in multiple locations and you're perhaps shipping out of those locations. Or perhaps you have different shipping providers based on the different locations or the different regions that you market to. And so you want to be able to offer custom rates or custom shipping labels based on the providers. So whether it's FedEx or UPS or Canada Post, you may have different complexities there on your shipping and fulfillment side of things. And then you've got sales and marketing. Obviously, we talked a lot in the product margin tree about what it takes to generate orders and revenue, and then we looked at the margin in there. But obviously, one of the parts we didn't touch on, and we'll get into this more when we talk about the customer margin tree as well as the conversion margin tree, is you're going to need tools or you're going to need technology or software that's going to help drive more people into your business, or perhaps nurture them along a series of emails or SMS or mobile or social, whatever that medium is, you're going to need some sort of tool or technology that's going to help you grow and drive more sales into your e-commerce platform. So those are kind of the 3 key components, and we're going to break those down a little bit further. So let's take a look at the shopping cart. So most of you may be familiar with some of these logos on the right, but what your shopping cart typically does is it's the core hub of your e-commerce platform. So what the shopping cart does is it usually creates the online storefront that you would need to have people come and buy from you. There may also be your product catalog that you need to upload into the particular software and houses all the different products that might be available within your catalog. There's also some sort of payment gateway integration. You know, we're going to get into payment processing in a day or two. And with payment processing, obviously it's a big cost of what you need to do to run your business. If you're taking credit card or you're taking PayPal or whatever that sort of type of payment that you're taking in for your business. So we'll talk a bit about more the payment integration there. But then once you've got orders coming into your system, you need to be able to manage those orders effectively as well. And in those cases, you need the tools or maybe some zoom in tools to add things to a cart or remove things for an order or update a shipping label, update someone's information, maybe update the order quantities. There's lots of those little pieces and nuances that you need to do there, but you want to be able to track all that in some sort of account structure so that you can report back on the sales, the number of customers, as well as how much progress you're making towards your goals for your e-commerce business. So that in a nutshell is your shopping cart. And we'll look at what some of the cost breakdown would be for some of these platforms. Then what you've got is you've got shipping and fulfillment. So obviously a big part is setting the products out the door to your customers is making sure you got the product that you have sitting in your inventory, but also two, you also want to make sure that it gets out to the right person. So there's making sure you got the right shipping label on the box, getting the right rates from the right providers, based on your quantities, you may get preferred rates by using either some of these tools or by how much volume that you're sending out to your particular customers. There's obviously the packing slip that you want to create to put into the box to make sure when people get the box on the other end, it says what's in the box, and you want to make sure that that is reflecting that. As well as perhaps, if you do offer returns or exchanges, you want to be able to make sure that you have a process or a way to manage those so that you can make the experience as seamless as possible for your customers. So those are just some examples or some features to be thinking about when you're looking at a shipping or fulfillment provider. And then finally, we've got your sales and marketing platform. And so again, your sales and marketing platform is something that you would use to drive more people into your business and perhaps, do more activities with them. As we talked a bit about in the product margin tree, if you recall, we talked about units per order and something that maybe perhaps you can increase on a particular order. Well, to do that, you're going to have to get in front of your customers and be able to communicate with them and talk to them. And so think of these tools as your way of communicating with your customers in sort of an online or virtual sense. And so you've got things like MailChimp or Klaviyo or Drip, ConvertKit, HubSpot. These are all different tools that you can use to communicate with your customers. And you can whittle it down to the specific people that bought XYZ product, or perhaps they have bought one thing, but maybe you want to buy them a second, a third, or fourth thing. Or perhaps they're a customer that's been with you for a while and they haven't come back and bought anything. Those are all different examples of what you can do to create customer lifecycle journeys so that you can make sure that you're continuing to bring more and more people back into your business. So let's take a look at what some of the cost of ownership looks like for some of these e-commerce platform costs. They're marginal costs depending on the volume of sales you're doing. But if we go back to that scenario of $1 million sort of sales revenue top line, to put these in perspective, these costs are a small fraction of what it would cost you to run your e-commerce business. So let's start with your shopping cart. If let's say pick Shopify, which is my personal favorite, and let's say you were using their advanced plan, you're looking at anywhere from, and I should mention these are all in US dollars, these figures. You're probably looking about a $300 a month plan for the advanced plan, and that gives you all of the features possible without stepping up to their enterprise level, which is Shopify Plus. So you're looking at about $299 or basically $35.88 for the year. Now, also take into account, you've got a shipping and logistics platform. So ShipStation is a very popular one that a lot of people use, and I've recommended to clients in the past and work with myself personally. If you were doing, let's say, the $1 million, and let's say you had 10,000 customers, or let's say 3,000 orders a month, maybe those customers are buying from you over and over and over again, you're looking at about a $69 a month plan, or $828 for the year. So not too much. What this doesn't count for would be what the shipping or the flat rates for freight would be. And so we'll get into that in tomorrow's lesson when we talk about pick, pack, and ship rates. Then finally, you've got your sales and marketing platform. So let's take Klaviyo, which is a very popular platform in the Shopify world, in e-commerce world, but it's also something that you can use across platforms. And it's a very powerful tool that allows you to do a lot of the marketing that you may want to do in email or SMS. And so let's say you had 10,000 contacts in your database and you wanted to market to them over and over and over again. You would be paying $150 a month for that, or about $1,800 a year. So as you can see, the overall platform cost for this is you're running about $500 a month to keep the lights on and just have a basic but a pretty, I would say, robust e-commerce platform. And then from there, making that over the year, you're looking at about 6216. So, I get there's probably other costs involved that are probably part of your platform. You may have different plugins that you require to your Shopify platform, or perhaps there's different integrations that you pay for to, zap things with the tool called Zapier to zap between different platforms. I'm kind of just trying to cover off the basics, but I think you get the idea. You're probably in the neighborhood of $500 to $1,000 max in terms of what you would be paying on it monthly, or that translates to roughly probably $10,000 to $12,000 of annual costs that you need to be thinking about when you're thinking about your e-commerce platform. So that's kind of sums up today's lesson when we talk about e-commerce platform costs. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, trying to keep these as short and sweet as possible, but make sure that they're adding a tremendous value for you. So tomorrow what we'll get in is one of the other bigger costs or line items that's often part of the order margin tree, and that's your pick, pack, and ship costs. And so tomorrow we'll talk a bit about that, and we'll get into a little bit further. Again, recordings are coming your way a little bit later on today, and what we'll get is we'll pick you back up so that we're on day 9. Tomorrow is day 10, and looking forward to seeing you there. So thanks again for watching today. I'm going to pause the recording, and then from there, if you have any, I'll take any questions. Thanks, and have a great day. All right, so do we have any questions today? Please just put them into the chat window for me so that I can see and hear them. So a question came up, are we going to get into a lot more of the margin or the overhead of running your business, like all the people or the staff? So that's something that we'll probably talk a little bit about throughout the lessons, but we won't go into it 100% in detail because it's something that personally I'm not as familiar with about what costs you might have for your business or for